Hi, thanks for coming. Today I'm going to talk about custom types in Ecto and how we leverage all the potential that the database that you are working with can give to you in your application. So my name is Pedro. Don't try to pronounce my last name. It's very complicated, so Pedro is fine. I'm working at CityBase and I'm working full-time with Elixir. So if you are interested in working full-time with Elixir, come and talk with me or Sam or Emmanuel. All of them are from CityBase, and we are here to help you. I have a blog post, my Twitter, my GitHub account as well. This slide I will post for reference later after the talk. So the agenda for today: what kind of problems we are trying to solve, what is the context, how Ecto handles custom type for us, and how we create a custom type, how we can query a custom type. So in a simplified way, let's say that we have like a use case that we have a product and we have a discount, two models, and product has a price only and discount has a percentage off based on the price range. Okay, so based on the price range, we can give like a percentage off for that specific product. So when you have a situation like that, the first approach that comes to mind, okay, I can have like a column minimum price, I can have a column maximum price, and I query that to see if my product is inside that range. The problem that the way that I'm modeling this is not appropriate because I'm not reflecting what price range is. Price range is one thing, and having minimum price and having maximum price is another thing. Okay? Sometimes you can hack on that to get some usability to fetch price range, but it's not what you want. Like, you are not properly modeling your database that way. So this is bad. It seems wrong but sometimes work. Depending how simple your use case is, you can make a way. But what we would like to try to avoid is queries like that. Like, let's say that I have a product price of 65. I can see if I have a discount with minimum price and maximum price in between, and I have the 65 in between. That's quite simple, but let's say that I'm querying a range over a range. Okay, so that becomes more complicated because I need to have many conditions and all of them they can match. So I can have a range that starts outside my scoped range but finishes after that. That's included. Or my range overlaps everything. Or my range starts between 100 and 250. It goes beyond 250. So we have many use cases that I need to address in many ways with ands and ors and betweens and whatever. I'm not saying that this is the only way to fetch this use case. It's just like is a way to show that how hacky I'm becoming, and this becomes like smell that, oh, maybe I modeled the database in a wrong way. So how can we do this in a better way? So Postgres today is version 9.6, and since 9.2, Postgres allows you to have a specific data type that they call range types. And you have range types for short int, long int, numeric, that's decimals. You can have like timestamp with or without time zone, or you can have like just date range for naive dates. All of those can apply for use cases like if I have a system that event or have like rooms and I have availability. So it's a time in between and I would like to book a room or book something. You can use range of dates. And based on your application, you can get advantage of that because the way that Postgres represents that data type is different and is only one field in your database. Okay, here is some examples that I have a range here from 2 to 14, including the 2 and including the 14. So we have exclusion and inclusion for the upper and for the lower value. The same way that I have, like in this case, I have inclusion of the lower, exclusion of the 14. That's the same like this. Or I have situations that I am unbound in any direction. So I can have like a range from 2 to infinity, or from negative infinity to a specific number. And this can work with dates as well. So presents and represents much better than you try to hack columns, minimum and max, start at, and at, things that we used to do sometimes, we used to say, and I had applications that I developed like that, so not anymore. So the another benefit is not just like I have a better representation of my data. The good point is that Postgres allows you to use some operators specific for ranges. So you can simplify much more your queries and how you handle the data that you have. So here I have like a specific operator for range. That means if that specific number here is included, is part of that range that I'm querying, the range that I have. And this is the simplification of that big query that I had. That's the overlapping ranges. So here I have many ranges in my database, and here I have lower and upper, and I can see give me all the ranges that somehow they overlap. Can overlap entirely, partially in the beginning, partially at the end, doesn't matter. Okay, this is the Postgres side of the things. This you can take advantage of this knowledge in any application, but how we can use that in Elixir? That's why we are here. So the context is that Ecto is a database wrapper around many databases. Okay, but Ecto is different than Active Record that's coupled with lots of other stuff. Ecto is just the wrapper and has a DSL for querying that database. Ecto works with adapters. Okay, so I have some examples here, but we have much more. We have Postgres that's specific for this talk, but we have other databases. And the key point is that the adapter is that piece of code that is very coupled with your database. And that piece of code that knows how your database, that specific database works. How many data types they have, what kind of features they have, how I connect, how I disconnect, how I query, how I save data. So the adapter always knows better the database. Ecto is just like take advantage of what the adapter can do. And Ecto, because Ecto is just that wrapper that covers all database, but the specifics are based on the adapter, Ecto will provide to you the common data types that we have in many databases. The most common, like ID, UID, string, binary, whatever. But there is no the range type there, right? Because range type is too specific for one database. You have in Postgres, but you don't have in MySQL. Or you have in a version specific for Postgres, but you don't have 9.1. So it's too specific. Ecto will not spend effort in building something that will be too specific for use case. But the good news is that Ecto provides you a way to extend Ecto itself using Ecto type behavior. But what is a behavior in Elixir? So behavior is a way that you can separate the generic from the specific. Okay? You have behavior-like interfaces in Java. It's the same thing. So in Ecto, behavior translate nice what it is. So my module behaves as something. So it's very nice for components that they have the same public API. They have the same functionality, the same API. So all of them, they can behave as the behavior in this case. So the behavior module it defines, oh, these are the APIs that I have that I want to be exposed. And the callback module will implement the functionality for each one of them. So in Elixir, we have behaviors across the board. Supervisors are behaviors. Gen servers are behaviors. The application is a behavior. And Ecto uses that concept to allow you to extend your data types. The other good news is that Postgres comes with range, but comes with a hash store as well. Also, Postgres allows you to create any data type. You can create like a data type specific for your application, just very specific, that will handle data and will hold data in a data structure that any other place has. And you can use an Ecto behavior to retrieve this data and to save data. So, as I said, Ecto type is a behavior, and a behavior you need to implement some functions. In this case, an Ecto type, anything that is an Ecto type exposes the type function, the cast, the load, and the dump. Okay, we are going through each one of that to see what it means. So the type function just define how my database names internally that data type. So Postgres name a numeric range as numRange. This is the term that if you go to the Postgres documentation, is there. This is how Postgres identifies, oh, I know what you're talking about. The cast. The cast is when you want to persist data from your application to the database, this is how you are sending the data. So this here can be any Elixir term. You can define like a simple list with lower and upper, but it could be a tuple with first element being the lower, second element being you define. I decided here for simplification, doing like that. Also, you can do, the cast is the place that you're gonna validate if what is being attempted to be persisted is valid or not. In this case, I'm doing a simple casting that, oh, if it's numeric, if it's a number like decimal or integer, I'm accepting as lower, the same thing for upper. I can have a more complex use case here if I would like to have my data type allowing to have unbounded ranges as well. So I need to accept null on that. And I can have many casts, one to handle very, very specific cases, or I can have simplified because I want my application only accept this kind of range. You can lock that the way that you want. Everything that doesn't match this and doesn't match my guard clause here, I will return as an error because the behavior of cast needs to return okay with a term, an Elixir term, or error. So I need to follow the behavior guideline from the module that defines the behavior. The load. The load is when my application is bringing data from the database. As I said, Ecto works with the adapter. Ecto doesn't go to the database directly. Ecto uses the adapter fetches this data for me. So the adapter in this case, that's Postgres, knows about range and has a module, a struct in this case, to handle ranges and how to bring ranges from the database to Elixir struct. And we'll bring something like that. We'll bring a Postgres range with a lower and upper, and if I match this, I will return the same data structure that my app is expecting. Is an array, is a list with two elements, lower being the first and the upper being the last. Everything else, I return an error. It's quite simple. Dump. Dump happens after the cast. The cast, I do my pre-check. If everything goes fine, I need to now wrap this in a struct that my adapter knows about. The same range, I'm just from my application, I'm populating here my range. If it's not anything like that, rare. And so after I define my Ecto type, and after I know how to grab data, how I dump data, now I can use my new range. That's a brand new data type in my migration. So when I do this, I will have a column in my discounts table with a Postgres data new range type. And this is the name that I set here in the type function. The schema, now I need to add that data type to be used in one of my fields. Here, I just pass the module that has the behavior that I'm using. Simple too. How I query a custom type. So, would not be nice if Ecto allows you to persist data in a way different than usual, but doesn't have a way to fetch the data. So fragment is what Ecto allows you to use to take advantage of any specific database function or statement that's not common in a DSL that Ecto allows you to have. And here I'm using a very specific data range type that Postgres allows you to use to be part of my query. So this way, I not just have the data in the right data struct in my database, but I can use the operations and I can clearly fetch the data the way that should be. And I don't need to do anything else. Fragment just is a SQL interpolation that will allow you to do anything like that. The same way that fragment you can use in any database to use functions like sum or anything, if assuming Ecto doesn't have that ready to use in the DSL. So if Ecto stops the implementation, let's say, we still can evolve, we still can take advantage of new versions of database ABC because Ecto has everything that you need to use new data types if they come, or query data types if they have a different thing than the DSL doesn't support. So the summary is that Postgres has data types that help us module properly. So not just data type like ranges, but has hash stores that are very nice. JSON and JSONB, they are part of Ecto, is more common. So Ecto has that data type for you to use out of box. Database adapters, they are the components that know exactly how the database specifically works. So if you need to learn how Postgres works, go to the Postgres. That will give you everything that you need. Maybe you go in the Postgres, I didn't know that I could in Elixir fetch XYZ. Ecto gives that flexibility to create your own types and to query your own types. So if you don't need to upgrade Ecto, if you cannot upgrade Ecto, or if Ecto stops in time, you are not locked forever. And querying customized data types is very easy with fragments. So for the reading, that's the documentation for specific range types that has all the range types, all the operations. That's very cool, very nice how you can query and very simple ways, very simple statements. You can get a lot of information. I have a blog post that has most of this content here. Here is the documentation for the Ecto type itself, how the behavior works behind the scenes, and there are some other examples how we can explore more the behavior. The example that I have here is a very simplistic way, with the cast being very superficial. Of course, you are not accepting everything. You'll be locking that much more. But the dump, assuming that the cast is working fine and is locking everything that you need, the dump is just take this and send it to the adapter struct. Questions?
So you mentioned that ranges have like inclusive and exclusive, and you can say like until this number. And in Postgres, you notate that with like the square brackets versus the
parentheses.
So, is there a way in Postgres to communicate that?
Yes, there is. So here the adapter, let's say here the dump. When I dumping this, so let's say that I want to also send to the database. If I want the lower inclusive and the upper inclusive, I can have the data here, like as the third position and the fourth position. And here you have like two other attributes that they are true by default, but you can pass. So when I'm saying this, both are inclusive. But if I pass upper inclusive false, they will be brackets. If I pass lower inclusive false, they will be brackets. The same way that if this allow nil in one of them, they will be unbounded. Of course, the other thing that is worth mentioning is that my cast for here, in an example, is accepting numbers in anything. But this always should be lower than this. You cannot have like a -4 and -10.
Right, and you should probably add like another conditional.
Yeah, the cast here is just for the sake of simplicity, just so, this is what cast does. Of course, this cast is not doing everything that needs to be done, even for simple range with no inclusion and exclusion setup. But you can get that, like, you can have like cast for with many clauses. You can pattern matching this and that. We can have like
Would Postgres throw an error if you would give it a range?
Yes.
Is that something that your PG experts cover?
Any other question?
Is it possible for load to be called with different parameters than cast was called with?
The load is expecting always an adapter struct like this. And the cast is expecting anything from your application. So this is freeform.
Gotcha.
This is what is my adapter. And when I'm loading this num range, what the adapter is bringing to my Ecto type.
I think I said load. I meant dump.
Dump? Okay.
Yeah, so will this parameter, the set, always be the same as cast?
Depends. It depends. This, the entry point of dump will be the output of this, of the cast. You can have like a different cast here that you transform this in another way. Let's say that you have like time zone things and you are advancing hours and you populate this in a different way, you set this in a different way. The same way here, I can not allow the application to set my upper and upper inclusion and lower inclusion, and I can preset here and change the default that my adapter sets always true. I can set false here, but not allowing the application to set that from that.
You mentioned creating your own data types.
Yes. This is in you can take a look at this. In the docs, this will talk about all the available range types and also how to create any type.
Do you know off the top of your head what would be the advantage of creating your own type as opposed to using something like JSONB and storing like maybe 3
No, I don't have any applicable reference that I used, but I know that Postgres allows you to do that, and probably they have a reason for that. But
Probably like validation, like.
yeah, I don't know if you prefer to store that way or JSON came after that feature. So JSON became something more standard, and they okay, let's bring JSON as something extra. But we had this, so let's keep this.
Right.
You know.
But also, if you're trying to like control the size of the parts of the data types, like if you want to use like a small int or use JSON label control.
Hey, thanks for the walkthrough. Interesting stuff.
Thank you.
Questions. First is overhead on the serialization. You're streaming over a few million of these things. Is there an appreciable degradation in performance as things are popped in and out, or is it pretty flat?
The range, I don't have any. The documentation doesn't say anything about performance, like if you store this and you model this as range, you have like an increase of performance in querying than if you have two columns. That is no mention on that in that regard. But yeah, that's a good question.
Second question. I noticed the fragment usage
Mhm.
vary. How nicely do these things play with Ecto variable? Could I, if I'm willing to put a little bit more work in, could I actually implement a protocol for this that Ecto variable could give me actually emit the fragment sequence?
As far as I know, the output of this can be composable exactly the same way if you don't have the fragment. Okay, so there is nothing that I know about, maybe I'm wrong, but there is nothing that if you use fragment, you lose like the composability of the Ecto queries.
Thanks.
No problem. Any other questions? All right.
All right. Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you.